Hi, it's Grant again, and we have been learning all about portraits. But let's do a little bit of review. So, what does the word portrait mean? Good. A portrait is a picture of a person. And who can be in a portrait? Right, anyone can be in a portrait. A portrait could be of your mom, a portrait could be of your brother, a portrait could be of your teacher. You could make a portrait of yourself, and we would call that a self portrait. Now, we learned about four different things to look for when we look at a portrait. What do you think some of those things are that we look for when we look at a portrait? Right, we're going to look at the face and see what kind of clues and details we can find by looking at someone's face. Maybe they wear glasses. We're going to look at the clothes and accessories. What sort of things are they wearing? And what does that mean? Are they wearing cold weather clothing? Are they wearing hot weather clothing? We're going to look at the pose. Are they active? Are they looking bored? We're going to look at the place as well. What does the place have to do with the person? Is it their backyard? Is it their school? What is important about the place? And all of those ideas help us figure out more about the person. So we're going to look at some examples that some students have made. And that first one that we saw was a guy and he had glasses, and glasses are great details. They tell us that maybe you need something to help you see. This one looks like a little girl who's sleeping in the bed, so maybe her favorite thing is to take a nap. And we have this one. There's a lot of fun detail. She has a heart on her shirt and a bow in her hair. I want you to look at the details in the hair and the eyelashes, and the background too has all kind of cool things. She has a playground, slide, bushes, sun, so a really full background. But we're going to make our own miniature portraits, and we learned about miniature portraits not that long ago. So I hope you are ready. I'm going to slow down just a second. I saw that you had some crayons. So that first pack of crayons had different skin colors. So we can look at our skin and match it with those crayons. And we'll want to also use just some normal crayons. They can be whatever crayons that you have on hand. Some watercolor. Mine is pretty messy. Water and a paintbrush. To use the watercolor, we need some water. And then a piece of paper. And you see my paper is cut in a circle because that's the kind of frame that I'm using. And my frame, I'm going to stop it right here. My frame is actually what goes underneath fancy cakes. So you can make a frame out of whatever. You could make a frame out of popsicles. You could make a frame out of cardboard, out of aluminum foil. Mine is just gold cardboard that they use in a bakery. And you can find that at Walmart or wherever. And you see I cut a circle in the middle of my frame because a frame goes around our picture. Now, what do you think we're going to start off with when we make a portrait? Right, we're probably going to want to start off with our head. And I'm going to start off with just drawing an outline of my head. Make sure that you get those details, because that's what helps to tell us that it's a portrait of you. Put in my ears, I've got my haircut going on. I really need a haircut. Mr. Grant's looking pretty shaggy, but in my portrait, it looks like I have a haircut. I'm also adding in my eyeglasses because I need them to see. And make sure that we're drawing big. Look how I'm filling up the space. And right now, all we are working on is the outline of our head. Remember, what kind of things, what sort of details do we see when we look at someone's face? Are they smiling? Do they have glasses? What does their hair look like? I'm drawing my shirt so you can see what my shirt looks like. Adding in all those details. When we draw ears, we want to make sure that we draw all the parts of our ears. We want to put in eyebrows and nostrils. Right now, I'm just taking that crayon and starting to fill in my face. And I could just stop there, and that's pretty good. I filled it in pretty nicely, but I'm going to take some different colors and add some shadows, because is our face all one color? No, we've got some areas that are darker, some areas that are lighter, and when we add in shadows like that, like I added in the shadow in my ear, it makes it look three-dimensional. It makes it look more realistic. So when we can add shadows, we should try it. Give it a try. Adding in some more shadows. You want to make sure underneath our chin has some shadows. And then what color is your hair? And also, what kind of style do you have in your hair? When we're drawing, we want to make sure that we add those details. Add the details like the curls or the braids, or is your hair, do you like wearing a hat? Do you prefer not to show your hair? All of those details tell us more about you. So I'm going in and coloring in my hair because I want to see you color them in. I don't want to see just an outline. It'd be pretty boring. So the same thing with your shirt. I'm adding in a polka dot pattern to my shirt with red crayon, but it can be whatever. You could do a solid blue shirt, you could do a striped shirt, you could do a shirt like I've got on right now with flowers. It kind of looks like a coloring book. Anything that's going to show your personality. I like patterns, so I'm going to do a pattern on my shirt. Adding a little bit of red to my face because it makes it look realistic. And what do you think I'm going to do now? The background. So the background is going to help tell more of a story about who you are. What sort of things do you like? Where do you like to be? Remember that picture of the girl and she was taking a nap in her bed? Well, maybe you really like to take naps and you want to have your portrait be in your bed and you're just sleeping. Or maybe you want your portrait to be in your favorite spot. Maybe it's like on the beach or the mountains, or maybe that's just at home. Make sure that you add details that are going to help people know where you are. I'm adding plants because I like to garden, and so I've got different kind of plants in my background. And now I'm going to start coloring in just a little bit. And you see how I'm not coloring in all the way. We're going to do something cool with watercolor, and I'm just kind of roughly coloring in the background, not going very smooth or not going very full. And we're going to see what I'm going to do with the watercolor. So that's my portrait. I'm going to take some watercolor now and start. You want to dip your brush in water first and get a little bit of paint. And you see how I'm brushing over all of those lines. Now the cool thing about crayons are that they're waxy. And since they're made out of wax, they're going to resist water. So when we brush the watercolor on, and you can see with the yellow, the watercolor is only going where the paper is, because the wax and the water don't get along. They want to repel each other. And so that's a cool trick that you can do. You can draw really hard and do outlines with crayons and then do watercolor on top. And it's going to make a cool technique. It's almost like dyeing Easter eggs, and you use the little wax crayon to draw designs on it, or tie-dye. You can see that with the leaves. And you can paint as much as you want. If you don't want to add any watercolor, that's fine by me. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Now, when you're finished, we're going to take some glue. And you can use a glue stick or Elmer's glue, or glitter glue, whatever you have. And we're going to put some glue on our frame. Got some glue on our frame. And then we're going to add our portrait to it. And we want to make sure that we press down the edges all nice. And there you go. You've got your own miniature portrait, just like the miniature portraits that we saw in the museum. Now, I want to see what you make. When you get done, make sure that your teacher or your parents share your miniature portrait with us. We want to see what kind of creative things you're doing. All right, have fun.